This is Rogue Wing, Coraline, or Helen RD over at Starship Modeler. Welcome to the workshop. Okay, next build time. This one's going to be a little more ambitious than most of my kit stuff. And I'm also actually going back and revisiting an old work in progress. So, as we take a look down here at the pile of crap on the workbench, what I'm working on is basically another Dark Eldar build. Only this one is going to be kind of a personality figure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lady here, the female Dark Eldar Archon, and I'm going to make a suitable mount for her, if you will. A suitable vehicle. Going to build, essentially, a chariot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these older style Dark Eldar Reaver jet bikes. These two will get riders with chains to act as the horses, if you will, for the chariot. This jet bike is going to get torn apart so I can splice this Hellion glider into the middle of it to create the platform for the chariot. The reins will come from this chain that I picked up at my local big box hobby shop. And the rest of it is going to come from various finds in my bits box, including the riders for the jet bikes, which I may substitute some of the metal figures for. I haven't decided for sure yet. And all in all, we'll kind of see how things go with the build and see what inspires me as I go through working on this. Should be an interesting build. I've been kind of putting this off and on for the last couple of years, as evidenced by the jet bikes that I've got. They don't make that style jet bike anymore. But stay tuned and we'll see how things go. Alright. Real quick update on the Archon Chariot build. Still sounds a little funny, but let's take a look at what we got going here. I just barely have that in view. Basically, here's what you're looking at. It's a rough layout of how the pieces are going to sit on the diorama. Two bikes up front, the chariot back in the back with the Archon standing on it. The riders aren't yet attached to the bikes. I had to customize this one because I actually lost the head that was going to go with that rider. I'll take them off for painting purposes. As you can tell, they don't have a lot of clearance to that bottom blade, but the Dark Eldar like risks. Now, let's zoom in on the Archon herself here. I'll pick it up and show you a little closer, but this is basically how she's going to set up on here. She's kind of off kilter because of the cloak piece here that won't let her sit level. But what I've done is I've split the middle of the bike, like I said, and then pinned the glider into the middle of it. Now down here, it's a really ugly looking joint, but what I've done So I've taken a couple of other pieces that I had in my bits box, and those will form basically a cover to hide that gap on the bottom of the glider. That way I can still use this hole here for the stand. Now, a couple of other things I'm still going to do with the glider itself. These chains that actually came with the jet bike set, I'm going to glue so they're hanging off the trailing blades here. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add this net generator up to the front post here, basically to add some detail. And then on this back piece, I'm going to put the gun that was originally mounted on the back of the bike, only I'm going to point it toward the back, basically as a nasty surprise to anybody wanting to get around behind her. But that's where we sit. Again, this is a fairly quick build, but this time I think the painting will probably take more time than the last couple of builds I've done. We'll have to see. But that's where we sit right now. Okay, one last quick little update. We'll call this chapter done. I've got the weapons I talked about on the front and back of the chariot, and the filler piece is now in place. At this point, the only construction left to do really is to put the chains in place on the backs of the chariot cab, which I may or may not do. The chains I showed in the first segment will probably be one of the last things I actually put on, because what I'll do is I'll use tension on the base to stretch the chains taut.